All right, everybody, back with another one. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of different topics. One of them is Trump's stance on some of the tax relief that he's looking to implement, um, and what he will likely be doing with the IRS. We're also going to take a look at the situation with Kash Patel, the FBI director, and Pam Bondi, who's technically his boss, the Attorney General, and see what's going on with that situation there. And then we're going to take a look at something interesting about Elon Musk and his whole baby mama situation. And it's an interesting perspective on, his upbringing, which might have led to why he is in the position that he's in today. So we've probably all seen by now, Elon Musk's Doge department has been saving Americans tons of money by cutting a lot of fraud and waste that they've been discovering in different, departments of government, Social Security Administration, the Department of Education, and a whole host of things. I think they're set to audit the Pentagon next and dive into a lot of the fraud and waste that's happening with the military, spending astronomical amounts of money on the simplest things. I think I've seen at some sort of hearing with Congress members that they would spend like tens of thousands of dollars on a screw that costs like $1.85, and a toilet could be like 20 grand when in reality you could probably get it for like $300, and all these crazy things. The overspending, they've actually been saving the American people a lot of money. So we've all heard that, Elon Musk recommended to Trump that he would like to give that money back to the American people as like a refund or a dividend, which, would really be a good thing, because it's not like with COVID where they had the stimulus package and they gave Americans a bunch of money by printing money. That actually was really bad for the economy. They should have never done that. But it only increased the national debt by a lot. So, you could actually look at this. We're going to look at this in a minute. But this would actually be refunding people the money that they already paid into the government with their taxes, kind of like getting a tax refund check. So I think it would be great for Americans. I think that they would really, it would only increase Donald Trump's approval rating for sure. But it would also show the American people that politicians are finally working on their behalf to, help them and benefit the country instead of just, robbing them and hurting the country. But let's take a look at the U.S. debt clock here. Now, I think this is run by a private group of people. I don't think it's actually affiliated technically with the United States government. It's a not-for-profit, I believe, and that's why it's a .org. But you can check this out online. They're the, go-to resource for the accurate debt numbers and all the numbers associated with that, GDP, things like that. But you could actually see on here, they added a Doge clock, which is pretty cool. And this is basically the savings that they were able to, save for the American people by cutting the fraud and the waste in their audits so far. So they're up to like 197 billion, which is amazing, $200 billion. So if you did the math on that, you could see here that they actually have it listed as $1,762 savings per taxpayer. Now, not every American citizen is a taxpayer, and legally, of course, there are some people that just don't work or, are retired or whatever, and they're not, qualified to file for taxes anymore, so they don't pay them. But there are like 330 or 40 or maybe even 50 million people in America. If you divided that number up by each, American citizen, you're looking at like maybe $500 or $600 per person would be returned to them. So that's it's not a significant amount of money, but for starters, that's a lot of money that they were able to save and then distribute back to the American people. And there are a lot of people in this country that could use an extra $1,700. Especially people that are struggling financially right now from the post-Biden era. But there was talk about, them refunding some money to the American people, hopefully as they continue to weed out the fraud and waste and get a total tally of all the savings. maybe by the end of this year or next year before that tax season, they can refund the American people along with, whatever tax money that would be returned to them through their filings. Who knows? Um, so you can check this clock out on your own. It's got a lot of interesting numbers on it. It's really detailed, and the numbers are constantly moving because they're constantly being updated. But this is the national debt. $36 trillion is what we're up to now. And our GDP is only at 29 trillion. So it's outpacing by, basically 6 or 7 trillion, give or take, um, every however long it takes to get to the next trillion. So over time, these numbers are going to get further and further apart to where the GDP won't be able to keep up with the interest. With the national debt. And that's how countries go bankrupt. Now, they can keep printing money, but that's not going to be able to solve the problem because all it's going to do is increase the national debt. But you can take a look at this on your own. It's actually a pretty interesting chart. They added some new stuff this year and last year, I think. Some new things that I've seen to me were BRICS, GDP to gold. That's newer. I see some of this stuff. I think U.S. homelessness. I think that's a newer number that they added in. This one right here, the dollar to crypto ratio. That's a newer number that they put here, which is pretty cool. And then a whole bunch of interesting stuff down here with what is our assets? So we do have 36 trillion in debt, and the GDP is not enough. But the assets cover the debt in the sense that if we ever had to use those resources to pay off our debts, we could do that. So if you look collectively, you can see that some of these numbers are really big. The stock market alone is $50 trillion in, assets that Americans, have holdings in. So that alone is more than the national debt. Obviously, the American people would forfeit all their money to pay off the national debt. But it just goes to show you that we are able to use these assets to back, taking out the debt in the first place as collateral. You even have 24 trillion on the land as well. Land that we have is worth collectively 24 trillion. Real estate, 75 trillion. So it's an interesting chart to take a look at. But I want to jump over to this. This is from MSN, so well-known media company. Trump's Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, said that Trump is planning on getting rid of taxing anybody who makes under $150,000 a year. Now, that would be huge because the majority of Americans make less than $150,000 a year. So imagine if you didn't have to pay income tax anymore. This might not be for a state level. This is probably more for federal. So you'd probably still pay state taxes depending on the state that you're in. But if you didn't have to pay federal taxes anymore, which I think is usually the bigger number, typically people get taxed like between 30 and 40%. Imagine 30 or 40% more of your money in your paycheck every time you get paid, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever your pay schedule is, and then annually as well. That would be huge for Americans. That really would be a game changer for a lot of people because there are a lot of people that live on the poverty line or middle class, and they're struggling and they're being pushed closer and closer or into the poor class, just trying to take care of their families, put food on the table, do routine everyday things. But this would be really big for the American people. A lot of people would save a ton of money, and this would really give people a leg up in life where they would, it's getting harder and harder for people, especially young people, millennials and Gen Z, to buy homes today. We're turning into a renter nation, and there's a lot less people that own homes now than they used to in the past in previous generations. But I said in a previous video, the main reason that Americans are struggling is not just because they're devaluing the money and they're increasing the, money supply. It's really more because we're being taxed more than we can, financially handle. Mathematically, it's not possible for the average American, which I think the average American makes about $55,000 a year, to make that little amount of money and then be taxed 30% on that money. and live and survive. Your average rent is going to be about $1,700 a month to about $2,200 a month. And, that's a significant amount of money. Imagine if you live in an area where you can't find rent cheaper than $2,200 a month, and you only make $55,000 a year, and you have to live in that area in order to, work the job you have, and you're paying about $27,000 a year for rent, and that's literally half your money. But if you're making 55 grand a year and you're being taxed at a rate of 30%, you're, you know, actually paying more than 50% for just your rent alone. That's not including all the other bills you pay. So this would be huge for Americans, especially, people living paycheck to paycheck, because this would really be a game changer for them. It would finally allow them to begin to, save money again. I think the average savings account holds less than $1,000 in America, which means that most people are either not putting their money into savings accounts, which is a possibility, or they don't have enough extra money to be able to save anymore. And all their money is going to bills and they're living paycheck to paycheck. I actually believe that's more the case. There's definitely some younger people that are not putting their money in savings accounts anymore because they either, are gravitating away from banks and, putting their money in other things like crypto and stuff like that. Or they just spend all their money. They're not good financially. They maybe not be living paycheck to paycheck, but whatever extra money they do have, they're spending on material things. Who knows? But we're definitely living in a time where it's harder and harder for younger people to be able to afford anything. And you usually have to have two people working great jobs to make enough money to, after being taxed and everything, to be able to afford a basic lifestyle, just having a family and having a home. So this would be huge for Americans. If he actually ends up putting this through, this is coming from his Commerce Secretary. So it's not from Trump officially yet, just like when Elon Musk recommended returning people money from Doge savings. That didn't actually come from Trump yet. He said he liked the idea, but he didn't actually say he's going to definitely implement it yet. So we'll see if this actually works out. But if it does, I actually think it could be a huge thing for Americans' wealth, to be able to, you probably start seeing a lot of people invest their money, save their money again, and do good positive things with it. But I said this in previous videos. I actually think Trump's plan is really more to move closer to abolishing the IRS. And I think a lot of people think that that can't happen or it's never going to happen. But it's actually very possible. It's very possible to do that. This is an article from AP, who, again, is a major, media organization. So it's, even though they put out a lot of disinformation, it doesn't mean that this is not true. But this is what they're, writing, saying a look at which agencies are affected by Doge-led job cuts. And if you look right here, you'll actually see the IRS might lose 45,000 jobs. Now, I think the total number is about 90,000. Yeah, it says roughly employs about 90,000 people. And I think at one point Biden was planning on putting in another 88,000 or so. So he's probably going to double the IRS, which would have been catastrophic. Not just to mention because those extra people would have to be doing something. They'd probably be harassing Americans to, pay more taxes. And the IRS has made a ton of mistakes these last few years. I've seen a lot of accountants say that they've been working on correcting tons of mistakes with the IRS that they made on their end. They're probably going to lose half their workers, half their staff. And if they're giving tax breaks to people that make less than $150,000 a year, and they're returning money back to the American people, and Trump has even spoken about, getting rid of the IRS and putting together an ERS, an External Revenue Service, it makes sense that he's likely going to abolish the IRS. He's probably cutting down staff to just keep the 45,000 to help, clean up whatever is lingering, any, income taxes or outstanding things that they're working on, any audits. He's probably letting them finish up those cases and get everything solidified so that he can move to actually abolish them. But now you're going to, some people think that you're just going to kick 90,000 people out of a job, and then, that's going to hurt the economy. But you're going to need people for the External Revenue Service Department. So you're probably going to see a lot of these people move over to that instead. I don't think they're all going to lose their job, because, you're going to have people who are experienced with taxes at a governmental level. And these are the people to definitely do it. Now, I don't know when this all goes into effect, but, what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, it looks like Trump is moving towards that. And then people might think, well, how will this work then? If we don't tax the people, how will we have money for the government? A lot of the taxes, as you can see with Doge, were being wasted. They were going to government programs and then, not actually going to those programs, being funneled through them as like a shell company to, line the pockets of, certain people. Either though they were going to other countries to use the money as a negotiating tactic to, for the politicians in America to get what they want, or they were going through, different type of shell programs and companies, charitable organizations, and then working their way back to the politicians. There was a lot of fraud going on. A lot is going to continue to be uncovered. But, you have to understand that with the External Revenue Service and the tariffs being implemented on other countries, there's going to be all that revenue generated from them. That will help stimulate the economy and, cover the loss of the income taxes from the American people. Don't forget, there's a lot more, there's a lot of other countries out there. I think there's like 192 it is. And the many that we do business with, they make tons of money every year, just like we do, right? Our GDP is 29 trillion. A lot of these other countries are not too far behind. If you're only taxing a fraction of the, trade that we do with them, it's definitely enough to recoup the 330 million Americans that pay, not even every single one of them, but households that pay taxes in America. And then on top of that, you're always going to have the business taxes. I don't think Trump's going to get rid of business taxes. He might, but and obviously businesses can skirt around a lot of taxes because there's incentives for that. But not every business has equal tax breaks as each other, and depending on the industry and different factors. Businesses are going to continue to carry this country with their taxes. So I think it's totally possible for Trump to be able to pull this off. And once he does, I think it's going to be a shift in America, because as Americans, we can all definitely align on one thing. None of us want to pay taxes. So if he's able to pull this off, his approval rating might go to the 80 plus percentile. But we'll see. We'll definitely see how this all rolls out. I have a feeling a lot of it's going to be implemented this year of 25, because it's such an important thing to do before the midterms, because Trump holds the majority in the House and the Senate and things like that. So now let's jump over to something different. This is a story about Kash Patel, the FBI director, apparently bypassing his boss, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. And apparently what he did was set up a direct line to Trump's office for him to be able to communicate with the president directly instead of going through his boss, the AG. FBI Director Kash Patel has reportedly requested a direct line, secure line from his home and FBI office to the Oval Office, bypassing Attorney General Pam Bondi and cutting out the traditional chain of command. Patel's determination to keep in close contact with Trump himself is an arrangement outside the traditional chain of command, in which the FBI director reports to the Deputy Attorney General, and the president usually talks only to the Attorney General. So he's not even just going through, past the Attorney General, he's going past the Deputy Attorney General as well. Additionally, Patel has reportedly inquired about hiring his own private security detail, separate from the FBI agents assigned to protect him. This request, according to sources familiar with the matter, stems from a lack of trust in the agency's current personnel. So what I think might be going on here is, it seemed like the media was trying to make it that Kash Patel was bypassing his boss because he wanted to work directly with Trump. And, I think it created this idea that maybe something was wrong with Pam Bondi and her office. But I actually think it's more, he found moles in his office and probably is trying to avoid any of the information that he's trying to get to the president from being blocked by maybe people on his team or possibly even people on Pam Bondi's team too. We don't know. I don't think this is a slap in the face of Pam Bondi. I think that he knows there's so much corruption in the FBI. And at this point, we all know that there is. I'm not saying the entire FBI is corrupt, but there are a lot of people in there who are holdovers from not only the Biden years, but also the Obama years. And, there are a good number of them that are acting in a rogue way. They're operating either with the shadow government or they're operating with their own groups that they created over the course of their careers and are taking matters into their own hands. And I think he's identifying a lot of this stuff while he's there and clearly doesn't feel safe because he's looking to hire his own security people to protect him because he might not trust his own FBI agents. So this is definitely a huge undertaking. I think he might have one of the hardest jobs out of anybody that Trump appointed. But it's going to be difficult for him. He's going to have to find a way to weed out all the corruption in the FBI while also working with all these people as his colleagues and as his employees, basically, that have to report to him. I think Trump made a smart move, though, because it even says here that Kash Patel was looking to keep somebody else as his deputy. And instead, Trump put Dan Bongino in, which I think was a smart move because the left and certain people in the government do not like him. They don't like him for many reasons because he's actually qualified and a professional. He worked in the Secret Service his whole career. So, he is a law enforcement officer for a very long time, working in close proximity with many presidents. So he also worked at a high level. He wasn't just a beat cop. And he is somebody that I think was like a failsafe for Trump. If for some reason they decided to take out Kash Patel, because he's in like the lion's den, he's in a very unsafe environment. A lot of people are against him and are rogue agents and may be involved in a lot of high crimes that could end them up life in prison. And when people are desperate, they get back into a corner, they do crazy things. And he's kind of a standalone. He's there by himself, doing this on behalf of Trump for the American people. And at first, maybe he didn't know who was on his side. He has to kind of build relationships with those people, also make sure they're not double agents, right? But I think it was a failsafe for Trump because he put Dan Bongino in there kind of saying, if you take out Kash Patel, you're going to be stuck with Dan Bongino, who a lot of them probably hate more than Kash Patel. So, we're going to see how this all plays out, but I think that was a smart move. I think it was good to have a failsafe in there. Kind of the same way he did with J.D. Vance, right? He didn't just pick another Mike Pence where if they decided to take out Trump, they would have Mike Pence, who was very center, maybe a little right, but maybe also a little left, probably more center. J.D. Vance seems to be very strong, very on Trump's side, and there's a lot of people in government that don't like him, especially on the left. So that was a good pick. It was kind of like a failsafe, same thing. Take me out, and you're stuck with JD. So we'll see how this all unfolds, but I think a lot of this could also have to do with the Epstein files, because there's a lot of back and forth about the FBI withholding them from Pam Bondi, and then the pressure is on her by the people to release them, and they still haven't been released, and it's been a few weeks now. I think she gave in her letter 2 weeks to Kash Patel to get her the documents, and he finally did. Apparently, he got her the few thousand pages of documents or whatever it was, evidence that they had, but she still has yet to release them. So this might have something to do with that as well. We'll see how this all unfolds. I don't think it's anything with Pam Bondi, and I don't think it's anything with Kash Patel. I think it's probably more the corruption inside these government agencies that these people are now tasked with weeding out while also not getting harmed in the process. So we'll see how that unfolds, and I'll definitely report back here. Finally, I want to take a look at a clip of Brett Cooper on her new show doing an interview with somebody, and they're talking about Elon Musk and the whole baby mama situation. I find it interesting what she has to say, and I want to kind of connect the dots as to maybe why Elon Musk is the way he is and why he's doing what he's doing.
You
And you've
trust this man.
seen, like, there was a whole his first divorce, which, by the way,
He married a woman, Justine Winter. She still goes by Musk. So Justine Musk. They have
Mm.
5 kids together. One, I believe, passed away at like 2 weeks old, which I think really fractured their
Oh wow.
relationship, which is a really tragic story. But they were like college lovers. That was a weird way to say that. But like they
Mm.
fell in love in college, got married. They had a very, very public divorce. She wrote an entire op-ed about their divorce. And like
Ooh.
apparently the famous line is that she was like crying or something and she was like, I'm your wife, I'm not your employee. And he said, if you were my employee, I would fire you. And they got a divorce. So that's one part of it. And then Grimes, which like Grimes,
Oh.
they got married. I think they got married or
I,
they were engaged or something. There was some
something.
more
That
commitment
seemed like the
there.
most stable
Yes.
that he's had.
Yes. Or at least like going into it seemed so at the
Yeah.
get go. But throughout Ashley's pregnancy, Grimes has been tweeting at Elon. They've gone through this whole custody battle. She's had to deal with the same thing, has had to publicly tweet at Elon saying, Elon, let me see my son. This is like not appropriate. You're not responding to any calls. Her mother got involved. Grimes's mother
Grimes'
was
mom did.
yes, on Twitter. Like you think Diane
This
is crazy?
blows
Grimes'
my
mother was like, I'm
mind.
in it.
This blows my mind
Like
because
2 months before Ashley gave birth.
if Musk was anybody else, I feel like conservatives and the right would be like shaming them nonstop.
Yes. And so that's why the
Non-stop.
response was to Ashley's post. And I understand that it was very nuanced. I'm not gonna like comment on something and be like this is like you knew what you were getting into, whatever.
Yeah.
And a child is a blessing regardless. And I hope
Right.
that the child is healthy.
Want nothing but for the best, but for that child.
Yes. And I hope that everything is resolved for her sake and for the child's sake. I hope that everything is great. I hope that they get the privacy that the child deserves and
Right.
that her other because Ashley has another child with I think her ex-husband. So for both of those children, all I want is the best. I think that's what most people online want. But it was this weird thing where it was like some people, it was very clear that they were just saying, hey, I'm glad you're okay. I had no idea that you were going through this. I hope you had a healthy pregnancy. You know, hope you're doing well. Hope the baby's okay. Congratulations. But then there were other people who were basically just like crawling up Elon's ass
Yeah.
because they didn't want to like they won't criticize him. And I think that you should be able to pull out somebody's accomplishments and say, obviously, you both drive Teslas.
Yeah.
It's like you are an amazing innovator. You have changed the course of mankind. Seriously. You are now intimately involved in our political system in a great way. In my
Right.
opinion, Doge is like the best thing that Trump is doing and has, I mean, it's like the libertarians' dream. It's like it's brought everybody together truly. And that is incredible, but you should be able to separate that and be like, okay, those things are great, but also we can criticize him for
Right.
being like, this is not
And
traditional. This is not
I
healthy.
wish more people could do that.
Yeah.
Kind of separate not so much the art from the artist, but just realize how much good Elon has done. Like you can be upset at some of the things that he's doing in his personal life, sure.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of all the leftists that are just so angry at anyone driving a Tesla, doing all these crimes to cyber trucks. But it's like at the end of the day, you got to credit was credit's due.
Yeah.
Is Elon the best person? No. However, when it comes to I don't know, North Carolina having no internet, who's going in there giving them all
It's
internet?
amazing. It's incredible.
LA fires, who's going in there and giving all of LA free Wi-Fi?
Yeah. He's a humanitarian on so many levels and is, I think, in my opinion, is using science the way it should be used. I'm not a big fan, like the Neuralink stuff freaks me out.
Yeah, no,
But in
we're not
terms
doing
of
that.
using the things that he has created that are moving humankind and technology forward, and that he's the first person there, he always beats the government. He
Yeah.
is incredibly, incredibly generous with what he offers for free. Like, that's incredible. And so I
Yeah.
think it's fine. It's good to say that, but you also, because of that, you don't need to like excuse his behavior
Right.
as a father or say that it's like fine. Or those like the, patriarchy bros or whatever you want to call them on X who are like, this is what a real man does. This like doesn't commit to a woman and sows the seed. I'm like,
That's disgusting.
they're like, it's Genghis Khan. Was Genghis Khan a good person?
That screams you're gay.
So, it's kind of interesting. We live in like a celebrity culture today where a lot of people are invested in other people's um, personal lives and their character and things like that. And they judge them on all these things. But I think it's best to not focus on that stuff because Elon Musk was not hired by the American people as a preacher or as our church leader or, as anything to do with a person who exudes morality. He was hired by Trump to help clean up the fraud and waste in the government. and that's it. So we should just be kind of holding his feet to the fire for that. Doesn't really matter what he does with his personal life. That's between him and God. If he finally comes to terms with some of the things that he did and sees that they're morally wrong, he's going to have to answer to God for those things. But that's no one else's business. The only thing you can do is, if you're a Christian and you happen to come across him, you could mention to him that what he's doing is, considered out of God's order, and that a man and a woman are supposed to get married and have children and remain a family together. Anything outside of that is adultery. Um, but other than that, you leave it alone. You don't bash the person all over social media because you don't like the way that they're living their lives. It's really no one's business. And I've said this in other podcasts in the past. When I was growing up, we used to have mind your own business, and we lost that today because everything's on the internet. So, obviously, especially when you're a public figure, people do have the right to comment on your life because you're putting your life out there. But I don't know, we're kind of dumbed down as a society to where we would even want to do that. I think if this man existed in like the early 1900s, people would probably look down on him because he didn't have a traditional life. But I don't think they would berate him the way that they do. They would probably not care. They would probably just move on and say, yeah, we know he's the guy who is living an immoral lifestyle, adulterous lifestyle. But it wouldn't affect them. They wouldn't get angry with him. They wouldn't get upset and, blast him all over social media because they had more important things to do with their time. And it really wasn't any of their business. So I don't know. Sometimes you see Conservative Inc., a lot of these people on social media that are part of the conservative movement. They get very, righteous in a way that I don't know is beneficial. Yeah, you should definitely tell the person that what they're doing is immoral, because maybe they don't know. And our job as Christians is to help spread the gospel. But it also does say, if the person will not hear that message, shake the dust off your feet, move on. And it's not up to you to save anybody. It's up to you to spread the message. It's up to God to help that person receive it. So, yeah, I don't know if all this gossip is, and I actually believe that gossip is a sin. I actually believe that gossip is immoral, and that gossiping about people is sometimes worse than that person doing the thing that they're doing and you keeping quiet. It sometimes is worse to gossip. I mean, always really to gossip about them. You should try and help them find the truth. And if they won't hear it, that's fine too. Move on with your life. It's not your job to save them. That's Christ's job.
Okay, based on the New York Post article, that he wanted his name taken off the birth certificate.
Oh,
So I think there are other ones.
I can't with this baby daddy drama. Baby daddy drama, baby mama drama. I just wish more people just acted sane, took care of their own lives, took care of their own mental health, took care of their families, and just progressed to a better world. Instead, he says he wants to progress a better world and repopulate the earth, but how are you going to do that having 13 kids and all these broken ass homes?
Yeah, and money does not equate to a stable family. Money does not
No.
replace a father.
And you can easily have, a mom and a dad, but not a mother and father in a home.
Yeah.
Hello.
Elon Musk for a second. Do you know about his dad?
No.
His mother is very cool, Mae Musk.
Yes.
She's former model.
Yeah.
Fantastic, like very supportive of him. Beautiful. Seems very supportive of all the baby mamas. Like Siobhan, who's the most recent, not most recent because of Ashley, but like
Mhm.
second to
The one
last.
before.
Yes, like she posts pictures of the kids, and May's like, oh, so sweet, whatever, like my angels, whatever. So that's cute. The dad. So he and May get a divorce, marries another woman who has a daughter named Jana. I believe that's how you pronounce it. He gets in a relationship with his former stepdaughter. They have 2 children together. Elon Musk, yes.
Who has children with who?
Elon Musk's father has 2 children with his stepdaughter.
And he's fall far from the tree.
He's a South African politician. It makes sense when you put it all together. Like this man
What
was
age
never.
did they get married and stuff?
I actually don't know. Should I look it up?
Like, is this like a whole this sounds nasty.
So I don't know if that's true. she's saying that it is. She's saying that she read it somewhere. But I don't know that that's true. But just to comment on it, if it is true, it would kind of make sense because a lot of what we do as parents, our children pick up our habits. They pick up our behaviors, character traits, personality. Um, so it would make sense as to why Elon is this way, where he's having a bunch of kids with a bunch of different women. If his father was that way, that's what he grew up knowing. So for him, that's the norm. And he doesn't see it as wrong because that's what he knows, right? Especially if his mother is okay with all these baby mamas and the children in his life. He probably doesn't think he's doing anything wrong, right? If you have the support of your parents, you're likely going to think that what you're doing is not wrong, regardless of what the world is telling you. But also, too, apparently his father was a politician. It makes sense to why he was drawn to, politics in this way. He's not a politician himself, but he is working in the government. So again, a lot of the things that we do as parents, the behaviors and things that the actions that we take are a lot more powerful than the words that we speak to our children. And a lot of times when you see people doing things in life, it's usually because their parents were that way to them or their parents lacked giving them that. So the child tries to make up for it by having an abundance of it in their lives, right? But this is a good, interesting take because if it's true, it would make a lot of sense as to why Elon is the way he is.
Why can't people
A
just leave other people alone?
well, they are leaving each other. They're keeping it in the family.
What, in the 1500s? I'm so over this. And all these
Yeah, he was
fraudulent ass parents.
45 and oh my gosh, wait, no, this is even crazier. He was 45. He married 25-year-old Heidi, raised her daughter Jana from the age of 4,
That's what I was thinking.
raised it, and then in 2014 reconnected years later
Oh no.
and sparked a romantic relationship after he helped her, quote, get over a breakup.
No, this is the case for the FBI.
Yeah, Elon Musk raised Jana Bezuidenhout from the age of 4.
You know what?
It's like, so now I think I already had this opinion. Looking at Elon Musk, it's like, if you're getting asked out by him, if he's saying, I want to, like, apparently he, like, slides into girls' DMs and is like, want to have a kid? Like, want to help me want to repopulate? You know that you're not getting the king of the nuclear family, not an engaged father. Scale back even more. The evidence is all there.
What pisses me off is that, by all means, like, you can have your own view.
So yeah, again, if that's true, I don't know. She says it is, so for the sake of this video, we'll assume it's true. But yeah, what she said was, her father, Elon Musk's father, was with a woman who had a child. So it wasn't his child; it was his stepchild, and he was with the mother. Then eventually they broke up. Ended up with the stepdaughter that he raised from the time she was 4. Years later, when she was an adult, and had a relationship with that woman. Yeah, that's the type of stuff that you see. I think sometimes you see stuff like this in the Bible. Even I forget particular stories, but there was one or two that was like that. It's stuff that is not right, and you can see throughout history. There were many different types of kings and all different types of world leaders. Throughout history that had done the same thing. Had many different kids with many different women, and it always goes bad. You cannot have a sound family in that way. A sound family has a mother and a father in the home that are raising the children together. The relationship might not be perfect, and that's fine. No marriage is. But it's the best way to raise children. And statistically speaking, it's actually the best home the child can grow up in. You can look at statistics on this and see they break it down that a single family home, single parent home rather, how does the child grow up and what type of member of society do they become if they grow up in a home with 2 parents, mother and father, versus just a father versus just a mother and things like that and so on. And you can see statistically the best way, the most productive members of society, the most well-adjusted, good, decent people come from homes with a mother and a father in the home, traditional, because that's God's order. That's the way that he intended it. And it's what is actually in the Bible. as a correct way to live and raise a family. Um, so I think that, right now, I think God's probably giving Elon grace because he is allowing him to do something that's really important for America as a country, weed out a lot of the corruption monetarily in the government and correct a lot of the fraud and waste for the American people. But long term, I don't see these things turning out well for him. I see them turning out very badly for him because you can't just do that. You can't just go and have all kinds of relationships with different women, have children with them. It's going to backfire on him in the sense that the children are going to they're going to turn on him. They're going to resent him, and they're going to come to hate him, especially if the moms hate him because they're upset that he didn't choose them solely. The children are going to learn to hate him as well, and it's going to fracture his relationship with them. And then they're also going to grow up and not be well-adjusted members of society. You know, uh, it's not, it's definitely not easy to come from a broken home, and you can even see it with like Donald Trump's family. Um, that's a fractured home. He has different sets of children from different women, but he did it the right way for what he had, for the cards that he was dealt, right? All his kids seem close. They all seem like they are well-adjusted people who have good relationships themselves. They have their own children, some of them now, and they're decent members of society in terms of, how they conduct themselves, what they do. Um, none of them are drug addicts or criminals like some other politicians' children. Um, and that's hard to pull off, but he obviously was very intentional about it. Maybe Elon Musk will do that down the road, but I've already seen some of his children have kind of, turned against him and are getting into things that he's not approving of. So clearly it's backfiring on him. Children need a strong father in their life and somebody who's there every day in and day out, to be able to guide them and teach them. And we're probably going to talk more about that on this podcast. In another episode, I'll go into details on some things that, fathers should do and how they should carry themselves and be um, a man for their children so that their children can become well-adjusted, especially their sons. But yeah, I don't see this working out long-term for Elon. And I think right now, like I said, I think he's been given grace by God. But this is not the way that it's supposed to be. This is not God's order. And there are some people online that, like the Andrew Tates of the world and people like that who are defending this. And then they call people who are against it, betas or people that are jealous. But that's not the case for everybody. Some people are Christians or whatever and believe that God's order is supposed to be a man and a woman and children, family in one home. And that's not up to us, the people. That's up to God. He laid out those rules. And if you don't follow that order, there are bound to be repercussions from those decisions. But these people will learn that stuff on their own. There's no reason to attack them online. There's no reason to try and bash your ideas into their head. If, they don't believe it, that's okay. Say your piece and move on. Anyway, that is it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, like I always say. And put in the comments section videos or topics that you'd like me to cover in future videos. We're going to do a lot more on this channel. And hopefully the topics will be diverse so that there's something to be offered to everybody. But even if you disagree, put that in the comments too. I'm more than happy to speak to anybody. You can find me and a lot of my short clips on Instagram and X, which is where I post those. And the podcast is on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify. Watch it wherever you are comfortable. But don't forget to take a look at the ad at the end of this video to see some of the stuff that we're promoting. My children's book, which I wrote myself. It's available right now on many different platforms and in many physical bookstores across the country in about 20 states now. So I always recommend people to support local businesses and buy directly from a bookstore that's near them. You can find that on my Instagram posts, but if there are none near you, you can buy it online with the link in the bio. and a whole bunch of other things. We have an Amazon storefront, an apparel shop. Percentage of the profits go to charity. Great way to support good causes, and just many other things that we're working on. So that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one. All right, everybody, I just want to take a moment to promote my children's book. This is Little Boy Full of Love. That's me on the back. And this is a little sneak peek on the inside. It's a great book. It's a children's book. I actually wrote this for my son. And it's available right now on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, bookshop.org, and a lot of other online platforms. But more importantly to me, it's actually available in a lot of bookstores throughout the country. You can find out which ones are closest to you on my Instagram page. We highly recommend that you shop local, buy from a local bookstore. So if you are looking to, get a children's book for you or anybody you know, or even with the holidays coming up, it's a great time to, buy a children's book as a gift. Definitely get it from a bookstore that's local to you. But if you absolutely can't get it from one of the bookstores that are currently carrying it right now, and we're in about 15 or 16 different states across the country, so it may actually be in your state, and it could even be local to you. But if you can't get it from the physical bookstore, check out our Amazon storefront. The book's available on there right now. And like I said, with the holidays coming up, you may want to do your Christmas or Hanukkah or holiday shopping early, and you can even order it from our Amazon storefront and ship it directly to whoever you're gifting it to. But it's available on those platforms. Amazon storefront and bookstores and other websites that I mentioned. But I want to take a moment here to look at the storefront just to give you an idea of some other stuff that we have available on there. These are products that we highly recommend. They are things that we use in our daily lives, and it's all organized by category. So it's a lot easier to, shop for the holidays and specifically for things that interest you, particular categories. Available right now, many different items on our storefront. If you can see here, 61 items just in women's apparel, fall decor, because right now we're in fall, 26 items, kitchen items, baking specifically, things for around the house, children's toys, even stuff for parties. If you're trying to save money on a party and throw in your own, occasion, you can even buy some cool gadgets here to help you, put on a better party. Health and wellness items here, even stuff for Christmas. And there's the book right there. So you can get it from the storefront. You can get it from the bookstores, like I mentioned. But it's available on all these different platforms. It's really easy to find and gift to somebody. Also, I want to show you the apparel shop, and these are some clothing items that we actually produced. So if you're looking to get some cool apparel items, shirts, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, leggings, even accessories, cell phone cases, women's makeup bags, fanny packs, coffee mugs, all different types of stuff, even some, art, all different categories here, apparel, homeware, accessories, drinks, even digital items. It's all on this store, healthybodygoodssoul.com. Anything that pertains to you or somebody that you're looking to get a gift for the holidays. A lot of great designs on here, a lot of cool designs that we actually custom created. Stainless steel water bottles, especially now with the fall and winter. A lot of cool hoodies and long sleeve shirts. This is a really cool one, I think, for women. The original Be Your Soul apparel, that one's actually really popular. People tend to like that. This one's one of my favorites. The free shirt. It's the American flag and it says free and that says not property of the United States government. That one's pretty cool. Got all different types of tank tops, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, tote bags, coffee mugs, even some items for kids, backpacks. So if you're the type that likes to, plan ahead, I would definitely recommend ordering from the Amazon storefront or the apparel shop. within the next couple of weeks to get everything in time for the holidays. Use code SAVE15 on the apparel shop to save 15% off everything on the storefront. So order within the next week or two, and you'll definitely have everything in time for the holidays. Definitely check out all the links to everything, the Amazon storefront, the book, and the apparel shop in my bio on all my platforms: Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. But you can also find them in all the show notes for every episode that I post, and get all your orders in time for the holidays. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It helps the channel continue to grow. And put in the comments things that you would like me to talk about and make videos on for the future, and I will definitely do my best to do that. Stay tuned for the next one.